give the disclaimer now that I'm really not the person to be reviewing a superhero movie. I'm not saying this to be pretentious. I just have never really been into them. I'll give that disclaimer before I do this review, but I did go to see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and here's what I think. So in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, we find ourselves back with Chris Pratt, the Green Girl, Bradley Cooper as a raccoon, Dave Bautista as something, and the tree man Groot, who is now a baby. Rocket ends up stealing some batteries. They land on a strange planet while they're fighting off these enemies. They're followed by this guy, and we find out that it's Peter Quill, Star-Lord's father, and they end up going to his planet, and I'll kind of leave it there. I don't want to be too spoilery. Keeping in mind what I said in the beginning of this, I actually liked this one. The nice thing about Guardians of the Galaxy, including the first one, and I actually liked this sequel better than the first one, is they're lighthearted and they're tongue-in-cheek and they don't take themselves seriously. I feel like superhero movies lately have just come to take themselves so seriously. And if you're gonna be a superhero movie that takes yourself seriously, you have to go all in. You have to be like The Dark Knight, where it's a really kind of messed up world and scary villains and that sort of thing. Lately, they've just been really half-assed. I feel like a lot of these Marvel movies lately, they don't know whether they want to be funny or they want to be serious, and they just end up falling somewhere in between, and it's weird. I think Deadpool last year did a really good job of being on that lighter side of things. Guardians of the Galaxy continues that. Yes, it's still a generic superhero movie, and yes, there were still parts where I was like, looking at my phone, when is this over? But I liked it more than most superhero movies. Guardians of the Galaxy is an interesting franchise because it has a bit of something for everyone. It has your action scenes, it has comic book lore, it has a sci-fi element, it's got humor, and this one with Baby Groot, it even has a cute character for kids. It all kind of feels a little put together by committee that, okay, we're gonna do this one because we can do all these things with this, and it will draw in as many people as possible, and it probably is going to be the second biggest grossing film of this year, but it's so charming that I'll pretend that it wasn't. I actually felt like there were stakes in this one, especially near the end in the final battle on the planet Ego. I felt like somebody might not make it, and spoiler alert, I won't say who, but somebody didn't make it. The story in this, it had more than just your typical, they're fighting this one villain. We have the sovereign race, which are after them, and it turns into kind of a little bit of a heist film with Rocket stealing those batteries. We have internal conflict with Star-Lord not knowing his father. We have the conflict between Gamora and Nebula, who are sisters, which I actually think that interplay worked really, really well. We have eventually the final showdown ends up being between Peter Quill and... I did find the daddy issues drama a little contrived, although it did add some emotional depth that, you did feel a little more in this. The visuals, as with the first one, but I found even more in this one, are great. I am a person who, in everything, like even in just regular everyday style and home design and stuff like that, I hate nothing more than when things are devoid of color. And I find that especially with filmmaking. I found last year such a wonderful year for cinematography palettes with things like La La Land and Moonlight and all of these films that just had these beautiful color palettes, and Guardians has that in spades. The action scenes don't look like every other superhero movie, which is great. It does have to do with that space setting, but they're just so vivid, and I thought they did a great job. It had a better Pac-Man fight scene than Pixels, even though that was the point of Pixels. I ended up seeing this in 3D. I usually find 3D more annoying than impressive, but I thought it worked actually better than most 3D movies I've seen. I think the last movie that actually impressed me in 3D was like Tron Legacy in 2010. There were some things that were really cool in this. Particularly, there's one scene where Yondu is using his arrow that worked really, really, really well. There's a lot of humor in this, as everybody knows. Particularly, there was a scene where, in a pivotal moment, Star-Lord ends up looking for some tape, which I thought was really funny. There's a scene with Baby Groot trying to find something for Yondu, which was good. And pretty much everything Drax does, just really funny writing there. I thought the new characters worked. I particularly liked the sort of relationship between Drax and Mantis. I'll totally admit, Baby Groot is is adorable. Again, I know it's so obviously a marketing ploy to get kids to buy Guardians of the Galaxy toys and come see the movie, but it's just such a cute character design that I don't even care. The one cast choice in this that I just did not understand was why Sylvester Stallone was in this movie. It was such a random role and he didn't really do anything. It was just kind of like he was just there to be there. I thought it was kind of funny actually. But so in general, I quite liked Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I liked it, as I said, better than the first movie. I would definitely recommend you see it. Probably anyone, unless you hate superhero movies even more than I do. I'm gonna give Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 somewhere between 3.5 and 4 out of 5. I think if I was more of a superhero movie fan, I'd probably be giving this 4.5. I still just don't really like this genre. I just still, and I feel so pretentious saying that. I really like celebrating all film, and I find that that's something that's kind of falling away in film criticism. So it's never gonna be my first choice of movie, but this was definitely a worthwhile one and creative, and I'm glad that this franchise does as well as it does. So thank you again for watching this review. Feel free to subscribe, like, keep track of this channel, and I will see you next time.